evening, Tuesday the 1st of April, and it's the second of the Champagne League Series over the 3 Mile Club Handicap course. Course record is held by Malcolm Prince at 14:31. A record I believe is within the grasp of one or two of our better runners. Tonight is cool, it's much better weather, there's a slight breeze, there's no rain, and there's every reason to expect fast times. So we look forward to the contest. Well, there you go. Well, I can actually start it myself, can't I, on this occasion? Well, the stopwatch.
Is it the top one or second one?
No. That one, bottom one. Very good picture actually. Not very good picture actually. Can I just have it? Right. Just really see what I can see. Well, they've caught us out by surprise tonight. They've started before usual. We didn't think they'd start until 7:15, and they've started at about 6 minutes past. Never mind, we'll catch up with them now. So here we are, into about a mile into the race, or just beyond, 5:42, and it's Steve Rennie in the lead, running very, very well. Brian Ward in second place. Steve's looking pretty good there. Phil Dewberry's coming up into third place, closely followed by Rob Robinson, Paul Peacock, Shane Page, Andy Holder, number 73, is coming into view now, and Janice Moody's the first lady, 69, coming through. So they're well into this race now. What do you think of the pace so far, Anne? Well, we'll wait and get your comments later. That's just coming further up here now. I see a Ballycotton runner now. That looks like Jeannie Percival, number 56, sauntering round. And Springhead Harriers.
The front runners are going very well indeed. At this point, Rob Robinson was going particularly well in fourth place.
Well, Rob, of course, he's been under this training schedule with Pete Jarvis, so this is a kind of event where we would expect him to be running well.
Well, it's either that or he's in a hurry to get to the pub to get his pint in.
Probably the latter. So in this next group we have Shane Page battling away there. He's dropped Rob Robinson by 6 or 7 yards. He's playing to the camera now, I think. And actually that group is making no impression on him. This will be interesting to see if he can hold out here. What do you think of Shane's running, Anne?
Shane's running exceptionally well, but then he's one of those runners. Sometimes he's running really well, and other times he's really struggling. Paul Peacock looks to be hanging on in there behind Rob Robinson. It's good to see him coming back into form. I think actually he's just waiting. I think he'll make a move towards the end of the race.
Yeah. Now, what about this guy now, Phil Dewberry? He must be the most interesting runner on the whole Hull scene. Tell us a bit about him, Anne.
All I ever hear about Phil Dewberry is, well, as he's known as a springhead banger. He ran a very good race, 20-mile race recently, I know that. And again, he's quite similar to Shane in the way he runs. He has surges and goes back again. That's really all I know about him.
Well, thanks very much, Anne. I know I've heard him. He's quite a remarkable character. He runs races in the morning, in the afternoon, and in the evening as well, if there were such things. So that was third place. Second place here is Brian Ward, who's also an orienteer. Quite a good cross-country runner, but it's not been quite as handy on the road. What do you think, Anne?
Well, Brian's actually started coming down to Goole on odd occasions, and he's been telling me about his training. He trains very hard, and again, he said he prefers the orienteering, and he's just trying to get his times down on the road now.
Well, to coin a well-known press phrase, Rennie acts faster, should I say advertisement, and Steve's definitely on the mend now, and he's running away, he's running very well there. This will do his confidence no end of good, winning this race and winning it quite convincingly. I think he'll turn in a time of about 15 minutes as well, which is very good. So, the sun is setting on the rest of the people following Steve Rennie, on their chances of catching him, because he's out and away. Rennie's coming through to the finish. Steve Rennie wins in 15:29. Very good run. He'll be pleased with that. Another step back onto the road to recovery. Second place, Brian Ward. He's going to break 16 minutes as well. As you see, he's coming through now in 15:46. And Phil Dewberry's held on to third place. This remarkable runner from Springhead Harriers. He runs well at 20 miles, 3 miles, everything. There he is, 16 minutes and 5 seconds. And there's a bit of a rush for fourth place there, and it looks like Paul Peacock from from City of Hull, followed by Shane Page, followed by Rob Robinson. Rob Robinson actually lost out on that one to Shane, and there's also Dave Brooke running very well there. He'll be pleased with that. I know he thinks of the 3 miles a sprint from beginning to end. 5-0 there, just finishing. Recognise him, but I can't remember his name. As more runners come through, that looks like Tony Slater. Number 10 coming through, and Janice Moody is just finishing now in an excellent time of 17:04 with tracksuit trousers on. It's a really good performance amongst these seasoned club athletes. And just coming through to the finish now is sorry.
That's all right.
Yes. Right, tonight's winner of the second Champagne League over the 3 Mile Club Handicap course was Steve Rennie, 15:29. I know he's run fast at times, but I'm sure this winner's come at a good time. How do you feel about it, Steve?
I'm very pleased with that, considering the time I've been out.
Yes. Could you just tell us briefly what's been the problem?
Well, I've had a foot injury. As far as I know, it's been the ligaments that have been damaged, and every time I try to step up training, I aggravate it.
And how's it going now? Is there no problems now?
I can still feel it, but learning to run with it. After I've had an hard run, it hurts, and I just have to rest it a little bit, then it recovers.
You've shown no bad signs tonight. How's your running weight? Are you a bit heavier than you were, do you think?
Probably a few pounds.
Yeah.
I did go up quite a bit, but I lost it again.
Comes off, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, Steve, it's great to see you back, and I'm sure that your times will tumble down now, back to what you were doing before.
Yep, so thank you very much. Tap.
So there we have the picture of champagne destruction. These runners have been destroyed with the pace and the cool, sharp air of spring. but I think they've all enjoyed themselves, and we close this transmission reminding you that the winner tonight was Steve Rennie, making a comeback through foot injury in 15:29. Second was Brian Ward in 15:45, and third was the evergreen Phil Dewberry in 16:05. So here we are, Tuesday the 8th of April. No, we're not going back into winter, but it certainly looks like that outside. It's a damp, dull, dismal evening, and you can see that most people have got a downcast look on their faces. We've been looking forward to spring, and we've got another dose of winter. The third event is over the Sydney Smith course, and it's 2.5 miles, and with a bit of luck we'll be starting in a minute. So here we are, several dozen drowned rats line up for the Rat of the Year competition. The last run out before the 12-stage relay at Liverpool on Saturday. Unfortunately, the traffic's going along here at quite a speed. They need to get this race going, and then we're off. So, right in the front is Shane Page, setting off. I know he's very keen to run in the 12 stage on Saturday. And Jim Dingwall there in a total rain suit. Probably the most sensibly dressed runner tonight. That is, of those who are running. So coming up towards Anlaby, the end of first lane, 2 minutes 15 on the clock. In the lead, Ian Greer of East Hull Harriers, running very spiritedly the last few weeks. George Baker, second place. There's Jim on the outside there, and there's Steve Rennie. And just behind them is Paul Stockburn, reporter with the Hull Daily Mail. And they've been running 3:08 now as they come up towards Anlaby Square. And Jim's taking the lead now. And at this point, 4:35 as they... We have one or two traffic problems tonight, as you can probably see. It's making driving and commentating a little more difficult than usual. Actually, the runners are more difficult to recognise tonight because the light's not too good and they're all drenched, so they don't tend to look their normal selves. And you can see there's a good field tonight. We thought it might be down on last week, but it looks at least as high. In that next group there is Phil Slater and George Slater just behind. and there are quite a few runners pretty well dressed, and I don't blame them tonight really. This is the kind of night when you can pick up injuries with this damp, cold weather. So as we get towards the front, the next man on picture is Brian Ward, and he's in 6th position tonight as opposed to 2nd last week. And the next man coming into the shot will be Paul Stockburn should I say, the Daily Mail reporter, who seems to be running well again. And Steve Rennie filling 3rd and 4th places respectively. So Steve, he won last week. He's not going to win this week, but he's having another good run. Well, in the front here we have Jim Dingwall and George Baker. George had rather a disappointing run at Hornsey, but he looks to be back on form now. Oh, that must be a little intimidating to run against a man with a hat on, gloves, rain top and trousers. It must be a little off-putting.
Right.
So with that comment from Harry Benson, he says we're worse than the press. We see the end of this 3rd Champagne League race. And Jim Dingwall seems to be just edging out George Baker. It'd be interesting to see if they make a sprint of it. I think they seem to be jogging in and not making any real effort. They seem to be coming through together in a 12 minutes 52 seconds. And in 3rd place in 13:01 is Steve Rennie. So I think they closed up quite a bit at the end. They seem to jog in there. Ian Greer in coming next in 13:11. Ian Greer in 4th place. He'll be quite pleased with that. He's running quite well. And Paul Stockburn 5th place. Very good run, 13:23. Brian Ward, another solid run there, 13:28. And this man's got a stitch, and is it Mark Smith? I'm not really quite sure. And that's Shane Page having a very good run, 13:51, just outdoing Phil Dewberry there. And Paul Peacock next, and another excellent run from oh yes, you're quite right. Thanks, Colin. And Andy Holder, number 73 there. Apparently goes better in training than in races. But not a bad run tonight, just over 14 minutes. Janice Moody, First Lady again, 14:22. I think the lads enjoy this short run, although it's certainly more taxing on the lungs. Certainly feel like they've been going a bit. So here we are then. It's a terrible night for filming, and probably not much better for running. And we look forward to the rest of the series, where we must get better weather. I'm quite sure of that. So with that, I remind you that the joint winners tonight were Jim Dingwall and George Baker in 12:52, and 3rd place went to Steve Rennie, who was last week's winner in just over 13 minutes. So we look forward to seeing our friends again next Tuesday. That's the 15th of April. Where the Champagne League will precede the annual general meeting. So it's Tuesday the 2nd of April, and it's the 2.5 mile race. Sorry folks, but I'm going to run tonight, so I'm going to hand you over to our guest commentator this evening, who's Laurie Jones. I hope you find it okay.
We're listening to do the best we can and try and Dave Colin.
Thank you very much. Dave Colin.
Right, the race has started tonight. The early leaders are P. Flatman, followed by George Baker. Stuart Shawcross is joining at the side of the road. Martin Farrell just behind. George Baker still leading. They've been going over just a minute now. Stuart Shawcross there with them. You can see the head of Martin Farrell behind. They're turning into Anlaby High Road now, with George Baker still leading with number 66, and Potter, I think, of Bridlington just behind. Martin Farrell also there. Stuart Shawcross just behind that. Field's starting to stretch out now. It's like Potter from Bridlington making an effort, but George Baker running smoothly as usual.
Go in front of this
No, you're on, Laurie.
Right, they've been going now nearly 5 minutes, and this is where they turn into first lane. The first runners are approaching now. It's Potter, Martin Farrell with number 66, and George Baker tucked in behind. Then we've got number 60, followed by Stuart Shawcross without a number, Steve Rennie, Brian Ward, and the Daily Mail political correspondent. Next comes Mr. P. Flatman, followed by another City of Hull member, Rob Robinson, and the second veteran through. The famous blue glasses are coming along now, followed by East Hill and Janice Moody, the First Lady. Another runner from East Hill, Pete Chapman, the Second Lady, and Jeannie Percival, accompanied by Ian Adams. Right, we're going back past the runners again, making our way easily towards the finish. We're passing Pete Chapman again, Pete Mason. There's Janice Moody, the First Lady, going very well. They've been going now just over 7 minutes. It's a very fast course, this. A lot of these runners may not be prepared for such a fast course. George Baker there looks to be working hard. Next comes Martin Farrell. Here we have the two leaders. Number 88 and number 66. The leaders have turned now into Boothbury Road and they haven't got very far to go. Right, the leaders are approaching the finish now, and it's Jamie Hill of Spartan winning in a time of just over 11 minutes. Second, not far behind, about 5 seconds behind, is number 66, shaking hands there with Jamie Hill. And I assume the third will be Martin Farrell. Yes, you can just see him coming into view now. Martin Farrell. George Baker obviously was catching him over the last few hundred yards. See the officials there waiting for the next man in. Looks to be Steve Rennie, City of Hull. There's a fifth runner through, then Brian Ward and the man from the Hull Daily Mail. This will be a sprint finish here from Pete Flatman. Seeing off the next man home, followed by the second veteran, and then Rob Robinson. Another City of Hull runner coming in now, and the first from Springhead. Starting to come in now in quite large numbers. The first from East Hull. Then quite a group of them there, including Jeannie Percival. Coming in quite thick and fast now. Over a short distance, you do tend to get more of this bunching at the finish. So John Devaney just finishing. Denise Baker. Somebody else from Springhead. Anne Sweeney just finishing. These races seem to be attracting quite a few lady runners these days. Phil Slater just finishing. Couple left from Springhead. Henry Thornton all the way from Bradford. Followed by Stuart Shawcross, his wife. Doc Walker just finished. More from Springhead. Somebody else from Bradford there. The officials look to be able to cope with these, although they're coming through quite quickly. They seem to be coping with the numbers. The tail ends are just coming in, so we can conclude tonight's race by saying it was won by Jamie Hill of Hull Spartan in a time of just over 11 minutes. The next race will be next Tuesday at Little Wheaton.
Thanks very much.
Second of April 1986, and it's the 5th race of the Champagne League. No, we're not running in the dark, we're just setting the camera up. The stopwatch is running and the runners are off. And the course is out at Little Wheaton, and it's over about 4 3/4 miles. And straight away you'll notice a considerable difference to the local terrain that these races are usually run on. There's a lot of dips and bumps in this course, and there's quite a lot of runners found a way out to Little Wheaton. And straight away in the lead you can see Brian Ward. He's been running very well recently with the yellow vest, blue shorts on. Just behind him you can see Martin Farrell. And they've run, as you can see, just a minute, but there's already quite a spread out of the field. You see Martin is looming over, should I say, Brian Ward's shoulder. And just behind him I can see Paul Stockburn, the Daily Mail reporter who lives over at Harrogate. He's been showing good form this season so far. In 4th place is Steve Rennie. Had a good run last week on the 2.4 mile course, coming in 4th. But Martin looks quite easy there. And you can see they've just come up another little hill. I think this is about round about the mile and a half point now. You can see it's quite a pleasant evening, very little wind and reasonably mild. Oh, who have we got here? We've got the 2 master marathon runners, Jim Dingwall and Terry Davis. Don't they look like they run a marathon too? They're certainly taking it easy and gingerly. They're making this group look very good. And there's a fair breakaway group. Unfortunately, we're unable to pick up the back marker so easily, due to the car having to be also having to guide the race. And you can just see Jim and Terry in the background. You can see the difference in pace between racing and jogging there. And even at this early stage of the race, you can see there's a long gap now back to Andy Holder and Rob Robinson in that next group. And there's quite a little battle going on here, and it must be said that Brian Ward is running exceptionally well. And I think he's making Steve Rennie struggle a bit there. And Paul's face is masked, so we don't know how he's feeling it. So it's the 5th race of this series. There's 10 in all, and this is one of the away games, so to speak. The other ones being at South Cave, and one from Brantingham called a Brantingham Chase, and one from Raywell. So all that excitement is to come. There's a good long range shot there, and that lead group must have a lead of 200 to 300 metres there. And there's a lot of pressure going on up this hill, and it looks like Brian Ward and Martin Farrell are getting away a little bit. And Steve Rennie's struggling to stay in touch. This course looks like it's over parts of the Walkington 10, which is renowned as being a very tough 10, so I'm sure this is quite a tough race for them. You can see now that the gap has definitely opened up. And Brian Ward's still running well. I think Martin's just could be struggling a bit here, certainly having to work a bit harder. You see the gap now to the next group is a further 100 metres. Certainly for such a short race, the gaps have opened up very readily, and one has to put that down to the nature of the terrain. Brian Ward's main sport is orienteering, but he certainly found a new niche at road running this season, and had a good run in the 12-stage relay at Liverpool. Now the hill, this is the last of the races which are held on a weekly basis. Next week, of course, will be in East Hull's first race of their 7-race series, the East Hull Harriers Handicap League. Their first race is over the 3 miles Potterell Lane course. And you can see now that there's a clear gap between these two and the next group. And I would think Brian would be looking upon this, if he looks back on a successful season, as one of the nights when he really began to click. So you can see we're probably at about the 2/3 mark now. And Steve Rennie there's looking round, so he must be feeling a little anxious. And you can see at this point that Martin is actually beginning to make a break, and Brian's head's gone down a bit. It looks like he's settled for second place, and Martin is sensed he's on his way and he's pushing on. You notice Martin's running in the centre of the road. That is to avoid the camber, which can play havoc with your knees. On these country roads, the camber tends to be a lot steeper. Yeah, he's had a look round, but he can see he's well clear. He's built up a lead quite quickly there in the last 3 minutes, and Brian is now being challenged by Paul Thopburn. So obviously Steve Rennie's dropped off there, and he's still got a way to go to get back to the kind of fitness he had a couple of years back, when he was under 15 minutes on the Club 3 mile. So here we are, the last bend, and another hill to finish on, and Martin wins in 24:04, give or take a second or two. And he looks under stress there, although I think he had to work quite hard to get away. And Brian's held on, so he must have come back reasonably strongly there, because he was being threatened, and he's just 23 seconds down. And Paul Stockburn, well, he's run out of road, but he's had another good run, continuing his fine season, 24:32. Steve Rennie has come through. I think he must have picked up a little near the end, 40 seconds beyond the winner. Now in 5th place we see Andy Holder rocking and rolling along. Good run though, but there's a fair gap, 26:04, so that is over a minute between 4th and 5th. That big gap really did take a lot of time up. And here in 6th place is Rob Robinson. I think he'd be well pleased with this. Good time. He should now be looking for some improvements on the 10 miles and below. Pete Morris finishing now. I think he'll be reasonably pleased with that run. And not quite sure that lad's name. I think it's Mike Vickers is the next to finish. Oh no, he's just gonna make it from Chris Dale, I think it is, and then Tony Slater and Bernie Child. Now he's just been got back running, and he's beginning to find a bit of form there. And a marathon competitor coming in now, Dave Brooke. 2:47 at London, and he's out again tonight, running quite reasonably. As we have more runners coming through. First late, that was an excellent run by Jeannie Percival. I think we have to say that, and there's our new club secretary, Brian Gibson, finishing. But excellent run there from the First Lady. East Hole competitor, and it looks like Ian Adams. Is he going to be out kicked here? Yes, he is. And here's our club treasurer finishing. And that's Dennis Baker just getting the best of Anne Sweeney. It's surprising to see Anne back there, which following her great Ballycotton run, to be behind Jeannie. Jeannie was about 4 minutes down on. And there's our ex-Distance News editor, ex-secretary, Alan Fowley finishing. Would I say ex-runner? I suppose I better not say that. And so we're coming towards the end of this, the fifth race in the Champagne League, a race which was won by Martin Farrell in 24:02. Second place went to Brian Ward, another excellent run from him, and third place went to Paul Stockburn, should I say. And so the next race then is the East Hull League, and then the next race in the Champagne League will be on 2 weeks tonight.